I guess I could add us to the screen. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, you'll be like, hey, you can hear us, but you're not going to be able to see us.
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
We went back to audio only podcast.
yeah, audio only. Yeah. So we went back in time. So.
Back to 5 years ago when we started, when no one could see our faces. So
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, we did first start. We were on a
we did
platform where we
audio
didn't have
only when
video.
we
That's right. Yeah.
yep audio only when we first started back in 22.
That's
Yep,
just because I had the face for radio. So.
that's right. That's right.
All right, guys, welcome in. You're on a special Saturday morning edition of Metalheads Unite. If you've been following us, we've been promoting having a guest today, and we do have them backstage right now. I'll bring them
Hmm.
out in just a second. Just wanted to thank them for taking their time out, and thank Curtis from the label there for
Hmm.
setting us all up. He's been super cool with everything,
Yep.
and I know with the time frame and differences and stuff, it's hard to get on the same page. So I appreciate everybody finally getting to come together, and we finally get
Right.
get this one going, man. Because I've been kind of excited about this one. I think
Yes.
this may be one of the most vetted bands we've talked to.
As far as I know, thinking back on everyone who's been on the show, yeah, uh, this is the band that has been around the longest. I mean, we're talking about going back all the way to the late '80s.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So
they're solidly entrenched in their fourth decade.
yeah,
So
yeah. So it's-
and yeah, this one's been about 4 weeks in the making.
yeah.
When, when Curtis when Curtis initially sent us the press kit for the album, which comes out next week. So
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
album
So,
comes out next week.
so it's actually like I'm kind of glad in a way because it's more. I think the time is more appropriate now because we're right on the cusp of it
Yep.
releasing. So I think it'll be a little bit fresher. And I'll try to get all this together and put out there on Spotify and stuff too beforehand, so everybody kind of get a chance to listen to the interview before the album releases. So maybe that'll
Right.
help with that too. So
Yep.
but yeah, we want to bring him in now. Lead vocalist for Brainstorm, Andy Frank.
And
Hey, Andy, how you doing?
Good, very good. There's 1 week to go until the release. That's
Yeah.
always these are exciting times, of course. It's my
yeah, for
24th release, as far as I do remember. So, but still, I'm really excited. Anyhow,
yeah.
Yes.
So 24th release in your career.
yeah.
Okay. All
Wow.
right. Well, I mean, I guess go ahead and tell us about that, because this is release number 14 for Brainstorm. So fill us in a little bit on some of those other releases.
I started back in 1993 with my first Ivanhoe album,
Yep.
Visions and Reality. That was the title back then. And that was kind of a prog metal band, just in the vein of Dream Theater and stuff.
Hmm.
And then we released 3 albums with them. Then I released, besides Brainstorm, I released, let's see, 7 albums with Symforce, my solo band. I released 12 albums with Brainstorm and 2 albums with a band with Victor Smolsky's Almanac. Um, yeah, and some best ofs and some compilations.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, busy times,
Yeah.
always.
So definitely
So,
got some experience on that resume
Oh,
for
good
sure.
Lord.
So
Yeah. So,
and
so
still haven't earned any money with that. Still, I have to do it.
right.
So people buy the albums.
yeah.
So I do not have to work.
Yeah.
I do not have to record any others.
Well, is I hopefully at least it's one of those situations where they say do what you love and then it doesn't feel like work. So I mean,
Well,
hopefully
yeah.
hopefully you would do at least, you are at least enjoying, making all this music,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because the results definitely sound like you're enjoying what you're doing. So,
I do. I do. Of course I do, really. And but still, the funny thing is always that after so many recording and releasing so many albums, you may think that okay, I'm used to it, but anyhow, I still hate being in the studio. To be very honest, because it's
We,
always singing the same part for 10, 20, 30
Yeah.
times. It's just like, and
yeah.
you get the producer on your headphones on the speakers, and it's saying always like, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better. And so no, I can't.
Right. Yeah.
But after the 20th time, he tells you, "Oh, that was way better." And I said, "No, I did just the same like I did 90 times before." But he thinks it sounds better. So okay,
Yeah. Yeah, you're actually not the first interview we've had to say that. Talking about
Right.
just the grind of being in the studio. So that I can kind of understand that. I'm sure, like you say, at some point the repetition is enough. It's like, how many times do I have to sing this chorus, or whatever. So that's totally understandable. So talking about, I mean, I guess we'll, instead of starting way back in the late '80s, '90s like we just did, let's talk about the new album that's about to come out. Plague of Rats, the 14th release from Brainstorm, is about to come out on next Friday.
yes,
Like we said before we came on the show here, Curtis sent it to us about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. I can't remember exactly when it was, but Curtis at the label has been super duper gracious. He's actually been sending us quite a few albums that are coming out this spring, and yours was one of them, and was kind of surprised when we got it because. Well, first of all, we at the time we were unaware that you guys had an album coming out so soon.
Mhm.
We try to keep up the best we can with the pending new releases, but we kind of, as far as being able to follow, for the entire year, it's a little bit difficult with just the two of us. We try to keep up to date the best we can, and people like Corinne and Curtis at the label have actually been helping us do that. So when the press kit for Plague of Rats showed up in the mailbox, we were actually surprised but excited at the same time. Jason was the one who actually first responded to Curtis and told him how excited we were to be able to hear it ahead of time, because it's one of those things where when there's a band, because again, like we were telling you when before the opening, that we're doing the best we can to try to make sure that a lot of the bands over there on your side of the Atlantic are getting the amount of coverage over here in the United States that we think you guys deserve. And a band that's been, not to make you feel old or anything, but the band that's been around, like I say, going on, in approaching 30 years, because you guys have been around.
Mhm.
Band has been around, not you personally, but the band's been around since '89. So you're talking 36 years at this point. Not having, in our opinion, the coverage over here in the States that you guys probably should get, we figure it's the least we could do for a band that we've known for a while. The chance to have somebody from the band, in the person of yourself, come on and be able to talk about the history, the new album, and everything in between. It's an honor for us, but it's also a chance for everybody else who may not know who you guys are, which, like I say, is weird because you're approaching 40 years as a band.
Mhm.
It's strange for us because there was a band, and we've told this story before, so everyone who's heard it, Andy, you haven't heard this story, but anyone else who has heard it, I'll try to tell it as quickly as I can, so there's not too many eye rolls in the background. But before we started the show, Jason and I were hanging out at his house, and we were sitting around next to campfire, and it was back in 21, or back when it was 21. Yeah, it was at the end of 21, and we were listening to some music, and a song came
Before
up.
that, it was probably
Was it 2020?
2020. Yeah.
2020. Okay. Well, we were sitting around, we were listening to music, and a song came on that we both really liked, and it was from a band we didn't recognize. And when we looked it up, it was a band called Onslaught. Now, obviously, between then and now, we know who Onslaught is, but at the time, we were like, we never heard of this band before, and come
In
do a
Search
little.
of Sanity. In Search of Sanity, their album is the
Yes.
best Metallica album Metallica has never recorded.
Ah, there you go.
It
There you
sounds
go.
exactly like Metallica. It's amazing.
Does it
I love
really?
this album very much, but it's
Yeah.
the one Metallica should have released instead of the Black Album, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, that's a very very educated opinion, but it is. But so we hadn't heard, at the time we hadn't heard of Onslaught, and we were like, okay, well let's do a little bit of homework. We are like, holy shit, they've been around since 1985. What the hell, So we're sitting here, 35 years later, just discovering a band that we have come in the past 5 years to enjoy very very much,
Oh yeah.
and we got to talking. We got to talking about it. It's like, if the two of us have, as metalheads, as fervent as we are, have it's taken us this long to find this band, then who else has had this problem? So that's basically the genesis of this podcast. So
And what was funny is we had a guest on a show that said that we were telling a story, and they said, "You know what? It's so funny. I just discovered them myself," and I'm just like, "Wow, that's so." So it wasn't just us. So it has
yeah,
been other
so
people, it was bad because he was. I think the guest was from over in Europe too. So
yeah,
it was kind of like wow that they had just heard about Onslaught as well. I was like, wow, that's
yeah,
kind of crazy. But
and being over here in the United States, I mean, the coverage is far from what it used to be back in the the
right,
80s and 90s, back in the Headbangers Ball days. So even though the technological advances are where they are now, thankfully we have all the access to the Spotify's and YouTubes and everything. So thankfully we've come to know uh, a bit about Brainstorm in the past. So when the email came across with the chance to listen to the new album, obviously we jumped at it. And then when Curtis offered the opportunity to do the interview, I mean, we couldn't have said yes fast enough. So to have you here is a super duper honor for us. But we we just figure that if there's any help we can offer as far as coverage here in the United States, it's probably not even going to be enough. I mean, we're doing the best we can, but unfortunately, I you know I'm getting long winded. I'm sorry, Andy. I know you're sitting there listening to me just kind of
You're
blather
welcome.
on,
Thanks very much for your kind words. Anyhow,
but
it's awesome. Really, thanks very much.
you're very welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. But I guess, and long story short, we want to just make sure that people over here, as many as we can reach, have the opportunity to listen to the music and enjoy it as much as we do, because the music definitely deserves to be heard. So hopefully we do what we can to achieve that.
But
so when I seen
you know what's really funny? The funny thing is really that a lot of people from the U.S. just they are always telling me that they got influenced by these German metal bands, these European metal bands, England, Scandinavia, and so on. The funny
Hmm.
thing is, personally, I grew up especially with American metal bands. I'm a thrash metalhead. I
Yeah.
grew up with bands like Testament, Exodus, Violence, and so on, and Forbidden, and blah blah blah. And then the kind of music we play, a lot of people say that we sound like American metal bands, like formerly Vicious Rumors or Armored Saint and stuff. And,
yeah,
and
Hmm.
that's pretty funny, because they always say like, "Whoa, Brainstorm, European metal, awesome, blah 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 blah." Blah. But I say, "Yeah, but we are influenced by you people." So it's
it's funny
And
funny.
you it's
it's
funny you
That's a
brought up
certain,
yeah, it's funny you brought up Armored Saint because I think Chris had pointed out to me that he heard a little John Bush in the vocals, isn't it? Did you
yeah,
tell me that? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm, I'm a big fan of John, and we've been on tour together. I think it was a 90, must have been 91 or so, 90, 91, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best experiences in my life, and a part of my warming up, before I go on stage, the way I'm warming up, there's a small part in it that I was taught by John. He just showed me how to do it, how to handle it. If your voice sounds a little bit strange, then he told me exactly what to do, and I'm doing this now since about, yeah, let's say 30 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty amazing. And Delirious Nomad and March of the Saint, of course, those were two albums. They had a huge influence into my life. So with this Delirious Nomad. can you deliver these songs? And I was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
come on, you know. And I was glad that I met Joey Vera many times, so. And even if he was in the Fates Morning or wherever, sometimes you go into a show and then you think, the bass guitarist, I know this guy, because he used to play in so many bands, So and yeah, so yeah, Armored Saint. If you can hear a little bit of John Bush in my voice, there you go.
Well,
Yeah,
well, it
I
was
think
just I was just telling Jason is like, and obviously not all the time. I mean, you're not like a
right.
dead ringer form or anything, but just like on a couple of leads and fills here and there. Every now and then, part of a chorus is like, oh, that line had a little bit of a hint of it. So I mean, but you know, definitely it's definitely not Andy Frank doing John Bush or anything like that. It's nothing like
No,
that. Just nothing like that.
I
But
personally do it. I personally must be honest. Of course, John Bush, Dave Mustaine. If it comes to singing, maybe Dave Mustaine. Who knows? And of course, Bruce Dickinson. These were
mhm.
my three most important influences. A little bit of Rob Halford as well, but not so much. More Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
But these three people are very important.
I think the two bands I told Chris that I felt like I heard a lot of inspiration in there was Iron Maiden and Sabotage. I heard a
Hmm.
lot of kind of you know composition wise is kind of where I was going from. I wasn't really basing anything on vocals, but composition wise kind of gave me that kind of feel of old school Iron Maiden and Sabotage back in the 80s and 90s. So it was definitely, and like Sabotage was one of my favorites growing up. So it was, I was like, man, I love, and like I said, the album, I can't wait for everybody to hear the new album. It's awesome. And when I
It's
seen that, when Curtis sent the thing out, and I was like, Brainstorm, like, why does that sound so familiar? And I looked it up on Spotify, and I said, oh yeah, I actually reviewed the Wall of Skulls album back in 21. So
yeah.
so I was like, well, yeah. Then I messaged him back. I said, oh dude, I can't wait for this because that Wall of Skulls album was killer. So
Yeah. Oh, it's tremendous.
And
But
that is really unusual for us, because this album is the release is now 3.5 years ago, and which is really unusual for in the case of Brainstorm, because normally we released an album every 2 years,
right.
but because of the
yeah.
pandemic, we had a lot of problems as well as many other bands as well had as well. So it took us a while, but we not just got bored. So we had to do a lot of things. We played a lot of shows.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question about this because obviously you weren't in the band from the beginning. You came in '99,
Mhm.
right before Ambiguity came out,
The
and
successful years,
yeah. But Jason and I,
the good
Jason,
years.
yeah, Jason and I were talking about this because you were talking about the 3.5 years between Wall of Skulls and Plague of Rats. But we were kind of curious if you knew kind of any of the details about how the band got off to kind of a little bit of a slower start as far as releasing albums because '89 is when they are credited as being formed as Brainstorm.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know if you know anything about the Memorial Brain part of the band. I don't know if you know anything about that, but '89 is when uh, the band is credited as being formed as Brainstorm, and then obviously Hungry didn't come out until '97. So you're talking about a roughly 8 year gap in between the I
Doing
guess
nothing.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got you. I mean, the discography has a few demos in there and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
nothing, no full length album until '97. So I mean, I wonder we were wondering, if since you weren't in the band at the time, but I mean, I wondered if there was anything you knew about the little bit of the slower start to the career with the rest of the guys.
As far as I've been told, they just had a lot of problems with record companies over here. And those were the times when everywhere in every office, every man, every woman, who wasn't able to play guitar or wasn't able to sing, just has opened up a record company, you know. So and then they had several offers, but none of them really did happen at the end. So those were a lot of problems. So they released demos and demos and demos. I think it's about 3 or 4 demo tapes they
Hmm.
released. I think 2 of them should have been released as vinyl or CD,
Hmm.
you know. So and nothing really happened at this time. So it was just also the Hungry album was released on a very small label over here in Europe, you know. So BO Records, as far as I do remember, the first 2, and then.
Yeah, yeah. Bo
And
record.
then that was exactly the time that when the band just went on tour with Iced Earth and Nevermore and no, was it
Oh
Nevermore?
God, dude.
Oh
No,
man.
Sentenced. I think it was Sentenced.
Oh
Oh
man,
my
I
God.
love Sentenced.
Yeah, yeah, we're talking about
Of course, I
history.
like. Of course, I like Iced Earth too. I mean,
You're out here
I mean,
naming dream tours
yeah.
for us
I
right
mean,
now. So.
right. Well, hell, I mean, you take Sentenced, you take Iced Earth, you take Nevermore. I mean, any of those 3 bands or all 3 and put them on and put Brainstorm on the bill now. I mean, I don't. I mean, holy shit. But I
Yeah.
mean, maybe.
I've been on tour. I've been on tour with my former band Ivanhoe in '96 or '97, something like that. I've been on tour with Iced Earth and Nevermore on their the Dark Saga tour.
Wow.
Oh man.
That was pretty
Man,
cool. That was pretty cool. That
that would have
was
been. Oh man,
yeah,
that would
this
have been
is
a hell of a
and
tour.
not, but those were the times, you know, when you as the support act, you were not allowed to jump into the bus of the headliner. You know, so we had our own separate bus, and then we were not allowed to step in. And I just walked by the bus, and the door was open, and I seen Matt Barlow and Warrell Dane sitting in there, and they said just saying, "Andy, won't you come in and join us?" And I was really like, "Ah, sorry, support band not allowed to go in." They said, "Move your ass, come on over." And I was really like, oh god. And then I sat there like a schoolboy, you know, like looking at them like those big men talking about music and business and stuff, you know. And I looked at them like, and I was just, I came out, and on the day after, I just told my wife on the phone that you won't believe what happened to me yesterday. You won't believe that. You know, both of them invited me to get into the bus. You know, so like, yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. And Brainstorm went on a tour with Iced Earth on the what was the release after the Dark Saga? Uh, the tour
Uh,
after the tour,
hang on.
1 or 2 years. Wicked, something
Something,
Wicked is what
something,
it comes.
something wicked. Yep. I knew it had to be around that same time. Yep.
Yep,
Something
yep.
wicked. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, and then I they went on tour with each other. The funny thing is also, as far as I've been told, and when they lost their singer after the tour, Matt Barlow just told them, "Ask the guy from this band. We've been on tour 2 years ago. You know, he sings great, but he's not happy with this progressive kind of rock he's playing in." And so Torsten and me, we got in touch, and that was one of the reasons I just jumped into Brainstorm as well.
Okay. Well, okay, well, we were gonna actually. That was actually a pretty great segue because that was actually how we were gonna. We were at some point gonna ask, how you ended up in the, in the band. So there you go. That's that's
It's a
easy.
part of the puzzle. It's a part of the puzzle, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been kind of strange, I mean, in a good way over the last few years. Like there's been some wow, it's a small world moments interviewing, some of these bands, and it's just another one of those things how you cross paths with somebody just
Hmm.
playing a show or whatever. Even if we've had a couple of guests on the show where they weren't even necessarily playing. They were just there watching a
Hmm.
show, and they got to talk to, a certain member of a certain group, and it ended up leaving enough of an impression where like a couple of years later they get name dropped by somebody's like, hey, I remember meeting this person at this venue, and why don't you give him a call? And then it ends up, it seems to work out, and it's been we've had a few times where those small world moments like that happen. So it's always cool to hear because like at the time when you were there on the bus, of course, at the time you were a little bit starstruck, and I kind of, when we went to our first podcast expo, I had a couple of moments at myself because
Yeah, yeah.
we got to sit down with
Yeah.
we got to interview Jack Gibson from Exodus, and then we got to talk to Ricky Rackman, and my head still spins thinking that Ricky Rackman actually came to our table and sat down and did an impromptu interview with us for about 15 minutes.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yeah, that still blows my mind that we had the chance to do that. So I kind of know, I probably know a little bit about kind of geeking out a little bit when it comes to that. So.
We were at the expo and I seen Ricky and I went over and I was like, "Hey man, I want to tell you, I just wanted to introduce myself and tell you, thank you for, all the years of Headbangers Balls, kind of what got me into metal." And he's, "Oh, cool, man." He's like, "Hey, have you heard about my show that I'm doing?" I'm like, "No." And he was telling me about it and everything. I said, "Have you heard about the show I'm doing?" And that's what I mean, he was just like, I said, "Obviously not. I'm just kidding." And he was just like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I told him about what we were doing and what, what our concept was. And he said, that's cool, dude, because I don't think there's enough of that out there. And he said, "I tell you what, you buy tickets to my show, I'll come over and do an interview." I said, "Deal." So I bought tickets to his show, and he came over and did the interview. So I was like, so I was like, well, bribery still works, I guess.
Yeah, it does still work. Yeah, yeah.
Chris, the thing you were talking about is really what we always said back in the days. So what metal is all about. It's a kind of a family. So and. Back in the 80s, back in the 90s, we all knew each other personally, So when we went on tour, we just, I might say, 50% of the crowd were not fans; they were friends, because we just hung out with them after the show, before the show, and during the show, So it was really funny. It's different these days because.
Yeah.
I sometimes I'm looking down the stage, and I see people in the crowd, and I think I know her or I know this guy, but where? And then I find out myself that from Instagram or Facebook, I know the face,
Right?
So
yeah.
If it's more or less the same, then you say, I know her from Facebook. She's a friend of mine, but only on Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
That's different.
Well, it kind of goes back to like one of the bands that I've been like following for years over here, and they've had a big part of my athletic career was Nonpoint. So every time I see those guys now at like a meet, when I meet them or whatever, they'll be like, "Hey," they don't know me by name, but they know it's like they'll see me and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Like,
well, I mean, you'd have to have one of those eidetic memories to be able to remember the names of everybody you've come across.
Yeah, these bands.
My lord, yeah,
thousands of tickets probably sold just VIPs and stuff. So,
so
not to mention probably some autograph, things that they do outside of that. So
oh yeah,
you would have to be like a definitely part of the family for them to remember your name, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, especially when you travel the world. So
yeah, or some sort of like crazy savant who just has a thing for those people that can just retain everything. Because to be able to remember every single one of those people would just be absolutely unreal. But
and speaking of that, I kind of wanted to ask this at some point too. But Brainstorm, have they done U.S. tours before? Or?
No.
Really?
True. No, we just came over just for a few shows, single shows, a Proc Bar in Atlanta or Cleveland. We did, but that was basically it. To me, it was always one of my biggest dreams to tour the U.S. Once in my lifetime. So because the funny thing is really that on the first show when we ever came to the U.S. and we played in Cleveland, I called my mother, and it was, let's say, about whatever. What was it? About 8 o'clock in the evening or so. It was in the middle of the night at home.
Right, yeah.
And and I called my mother and she said, "What the hell is going on? What do you want?" And I said, "Mom, I just made it to the U.S. Probably I'll stay here. We'll find out. But tonight we'll play the show." I did it. I'm becoming a rock star. I always told you. No, it's a shame, So
it is a shame
because we have received so many. With every release, with every album, we do receive amazing reviews, and the response is overwhelming, from the fans. So we would love to come. To be very honest, we would love to come. but
Yeah,
it's
we need to fix
always.
that, man. That's
I
so
mean, we need to. I mean, I don't know how much like influence we would have, but I mean, we need to see if we can get in touch with maybe some of these festival organizers and maybe we could like at least get you guys over here for a festival. I mean, even if it's not for a tour. I mean, if we could get if there would be some way to get you guys on one of these summer festival lineups. I mean, you guys would probably be in front of like 50,000 people cumulatively over a weekend. So I mean,
I don't think we've ever asked this before, but like you brought that up. Now I'm kind of curious. How does that work? Does like a band, like say Armored Saint, come out with a new record and they realize you have a new record? Do their people reach out to your people and say, "Hey, you guys want to tour the states with Armored Saint?" Or I mean, how would that work?
It's all up to the booking
that's a good
agent.
question.
Booking agents,
Yeah, it's up to the booking agents, and there's a lot of politics, a record company politics these days. So the record
of
companies
course.
always try to bring on their own bands. So younger bands, and they always try to bring them up on the road. And so that's the reason. Probably sometimes when I look at on the schedule, and for tour schedules and stuff, and I see
Mhm.
big bands playing, and then you see the support acts, and you think, who the hell is that? Never ever heard of them.
Right.
So that's very sad. So, but on the other hand, you've you got big names joining together, like we did for last time, for example, over here in Europe. We joined forces with Rage. So which is pretty cool.
He's,
So and
he's you're killing us, man. You're
Yeah,
killing.
you are. Oh my god.
yeah, that works out amazing. So we did this. The funny thing is, we did this three times with Primal Fear, because they're more or less three times been on tour together. And the funny thing is, those guys do live next to my house. Let's say five or 6 miles, whatever.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so yeah, it's just 1 week ago since I met Ralph the last time. So and
Nice.
but those were great times. So and that's and the venues were really packed. Absolutely packed. So it was more or less sold out. That was amazing. We had an amazing time. So this is the reason why I always think, let's let's join forces with other big names, and then you can play bigger venues. You have a bigger show, a better show. You can
Right.
give the people much more entertainment as well. So the venues are better. The food is
Well,
better.
I always feel like too, if you looked at something and you seen like I said, like just using examples, like if you seen Armored Saint, you know, uh, you know, Primal Fear and Brainstorm on a ticket, you're more than likely going to be able to charge more money for that because of the bands that are on it than to say Armored Saint and Tweedledee and Hoorah. I mean, you don't know those other two bands, so why would you pay $60 just to see Armored Saint? Because you don't know the other two bands. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, it
that's the
makes
way I look
sense.
at things a lot of times. I mean, of course, now you can always research the other bands with Spotify and YouTube and things that you couldn't do years ago. But
Yeah.
it's just everything's not available there either. So that's another thing you have to worry about
Right.
too. Is
Yeah.
like because I mean we run into that a lot where we're wanting to review albums and then we go to Spotify and they're not there. So we have to
Hmm.
find other outlets to try to find certain albums or whatever. But yeah, I just feel like you like you said, if you got three bigger name bands, you could do bigger venues with and probably make a
I
lot
love that. I
shit
absolutely
ton more
love
money
this.
too. I mean, and you guys are going to make more money on merch. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
You get much more people in there. So, for
yeah.
example, as I'm a big fan of In Flames and Soilwork and stuff. It's just a
Hmm.
few weeks ago when In Flames, Soilwork, and Art Galamy, they joined forces and they went on tour. It was, man, that was a dream came true for me. So I
Yeah.
stood there just singing all the songs along. Was just like, wow, that was the night. That was absolutely the night. Was amazing to me. I just
Chris,
I spent a hell out of money just for the merch of all
Chris,
three
Chris's,
bands.
Chris's screen's gonna Chris's screen's gonna go black at some point. Where you, he's
God.
like, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean,
They
Andy,
do.
I don't.
I mean, we've said this before, though. They do have amazing tours over there that we don't get here in the States, and it's a
Yeah,
shame that we don't. But uh, we see those lineups all the time. We're like, oh, Lee, why
yeah.
can't
Why
they
can't it
roll that
come
over
here? I
here?
know.
And I was like,
Why
nope,
can't it come here?
just European dates.
Yeah.
I'm like, jeez, but
Because I mean, I've seen In Flames as an opener. I haven't seen
right,
them. I haven't seen them as a headliner. But I haven't gotten to see. Obviously, we haven't got to see you guys. I haven't got to see Brainstorm. Haven't got to see Primal Fear. I haven't got to see Arch Enemy. I haven't got. I mean, Sentenced isn't around anymore, unfortunately. But
Right.
never got to see them. Haven't gotten to see Iced Earth. Of course, they're Iced Earth is based over here, so it's kind of strange that I never got to see them. But with everything that John Schaefer's kind of coming out of right now, everything he's got going on, maybe a little bit before Iced Earth gets back on their feet, but never got to see them. You know, so I mean, there's so many bands, Andy, that you just mentioned that I've been dying to see that, but you just don't get a
he's
chance
over
to
here
over
talking
here.
about I met him. He's over here talking about I met
Yeah, I
him.
know. Yes, yeah. I mean, Ralph
You can buy
Sheepers.
some of
Yeah,
my memories.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean,
like in a very bad movie, you can buy my
He's like,
memories. So what-
hey, I probably would.
Andy's over here going, yeah, man. I just went to Ralph's barbecue a couple weeks ago.
Right. Uh, well,
Just rub it in, man.
strangely enough, talking about Ralph, the project that he is most recently fronting, "Die for My Sins," we actually got to talk to Fabio
Mhm.
about 6 weeks ago, I think, is when we had
Yeah, something
Fabio
like
on
that. Yeah, it's been a
So
minute.
Ralph's got another project that he's fronting, and we got to talk to one of the members
I
of
actually think they may have been
that
the last
project.
show of 24. So
Yeah, it was right around there, but in the last couple months anyway. So it's just another one of those things. I mean, and I'm looking forward to what Primal Fear is going to do next, considering the fallout that happened with the lineup last year. But Ralph and they got the lineup built back up. So I'm interested to see where the band is going to go. Um, but I've been a Primal Fear fan probably since 14 when Delivering the Black came out. I think that's when I discovered them, was in 14 when Delivering the Black came out. I've been an Arch Enemy fan since '96 when Angela was still the singer, when Wages of Sin came out. So I mean, I've been a fan of theirs for a long time. I discovered Iced Earth in '98 when Something Wicked This Way Comes came out. I remember there was I can't remember where I got it, but there was I don't even remember. It was some sort of promotional compilation CD that I got, and I can't even remember what magazine it was from now, to be completely honest with you. But the title track to that album was on that compilation, and it struck a chord. No pun intended. And I was like, this is a band that I want to listen to. And then I bought Something Wicked This Way comes out. I actually still have it on CD downstairs. I still have it, and been a fan of theirs for a long time. But it's just some of those bands that it is unfortunate, like bands like that, and like you guys have never got to come over here. Thankfully, talking about some other bands that have been around for a little while, who are veterans, so to speak. Last year, what was it, in September, when Accept and KK's Priest? I think it was in September of last year.
something like
Accept
that.
and KK Priest came to Nashville, so those were a couple. Accept for sure was a bucket list band for me, and then KK Downing and Tim Owens, they've got KK's Priest. They formed together, so they played. They played some surprise Judas Priest songs that we weren't expecting, so that was nice. I haven't seen Judas Priest since 2004, so
What?
I know that well, that's the thing is, I mean, here in Tennessee, I mean, it's a little different. We do get metal tours that come through here, but it's a little bit more seldom down here in Tennessee that a lot of the bigger tours come here.
We usually have to
Now,
go to like Atlanta
or St. Louis or something,
yeah.
yeah. But
Okay.
now, if I was still living up in Michigan, where I'm originally from, basically any tour that's a
Mhm.
tour comes through Detroit, and I could have gone to one of those. But 2004, on Ozfest is the last time that Judas Priest was through here, and they were going to. They were. Well, wait a minute. Were they going to? Jason, were they going to be in Nashville with Ozzy, or were we going to go to Atlanta for that one? I can't remember if that was going to be a Nashville show or not, but
I can't remember.
one of Ozzy's.
I know the prompt what's it? What? Sabaton. The Sabaton Priest tour was in Alabama, I think, Birmingham.
Right. I'm still kicking.
So.
Yeah, and I'm still kicking myself for not going to that because I've been dying to see Sabaton too. But so that's a definite tour regret that I have is missing that Priest and Sabaton show. But they were. Priest was supposed to be going around with Ozzy on one of those tours that he canceled because, that fall that he had where he jarred all of his plates and screws loose from his ATV accident from back in the day. So yeah, there's been a couple of opportunities I've had to see Priest that have fallen through, but the last time I saw him was in 2004. So, kind of, been a little. I'm overdue to see Priest, of course, but
I'm waiting on Andy to say he partied with Rob like 2 weeks ago or something.
But you know what? It's very curious, because a lot of we've been talking about touring the U.S. many times with some of our booking agents, So, but I have no clue why it never really happened. I have no really idea.
I feel like you guys have a lot of good talent you guys could take with you with the current label, though, man. I mean, they like the stuff Curtis sends me. I'm just like, dude, I didn't even realize they were on that label. Like, he sent me some Dirk Schneider stuff here a while back too, and I'm just like, oh wow, like I didn't even realize. Udo was on the label. I was like, that's pretty wild. So, I mean, there's some bigger name bands on there too. So, I mean,
I don't know. I don't really know why, because we used to be signed by Metal Blade, which is an American label.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
That's
a few albums now where we got signed by AFM, which is a German label, or RPM. Now it's more or less the same people. They moved over from AFM to RPM, but that's okay. That's fine. But I never really know why it never really happened. As long as we've been signed by an American label, For example, like we mentioned, Armin saying they've been label mates of us. So this is bizarre. So I have nobody ever told us why. Nobody has ever told us. So we talked about this several times. But
because if you're talking about putting, because you were talking about, these booking agents, when they put a show together, they want to just bring their own artists. When you run down the lineup of artists that RPM currently has, and this is in no particular order, I'm actually on their website right now. You have Kerry King, Meshuggah, Agnostic Front, Amorphous, Angra, Brainstorm. You have Crimson Veil, Deicide, Enemy Inside, Eline, Gotthard, Halloween, Jag Panzer, Lordy, Meshuggah, Orden Ogan, Opeth, Primal Fear. Sebastian Bach is doing his solo stuff on RPM. You have Sonata Arctica, Skullfist, who ghosted us. Then you have UDO and Dirk Schneider. So Dirk Schneider, Udo Dirk Schneider has got 2 projects under the RPM banner right now. So I mean, I would kill to see a show with any of the bands on that lineup. I mean, you could just. So I mean, it's insane.
Which is crazy because at least I know at least 4 of those bands on there have either had a release or upcoming releases this year.
Right.
So
yeah. So I mean,
it's like there's definitely some tour possibilities to throw together there. So
yeah. Well, and
hopefully you guys can work it out and get over. Because we'd love, we'd love to get out and see you guys live. So,
oh man,
this is that should be our goal.
Yeah, I wonder. Like I say, I wonder. We need to do a little bit of research, Jason, and see if we can. I don't know. Like I say, I don't know how much help we would be with, in that respect. Because I mean, we've never booked a tour or anything like that. But I mean, I don't know if I don't know if we could put a bug in someone's ear or something to at least maybe get them to at least
Well,
think
I
about
mean,
it. But I mean,
you,
for crying out loud.
you always see these these posts sometimes on social media about like, hey, who you guys think we should tour with, and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. And when I see some of those, I'm just going to brainstorm.
Yeah.
Somebody eventually be like, hey, who is these guys? And I'm like, oh
Right.
yeah, let's bring them over here. So
Yeah. Maybe we could at least get one of those. Maybe it can be one of those squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of things, and maybe
yeah,
at least someone would look into it because I mean, there's really no reason not to, especially if you're gonna put together, and it doesn't even have to be like a 3 or 4 artist bill because
well, no,
we just talked about Accept and KK's Priest going around. I mean, that was a 3.5 hour show with just those 2 bands. So I
hmm
mean, it wouldn't have to be like a super big lineup. But I mean, as far as
well, I mean, especially if you got Brainstorm with 14 albums worth of material they could play live. I mean,
right, exactly, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
right.
you don't need bands.
Well, because I mean, well, hell, I mean, if you're, I mean, just talking about Brainstorm and Primal Fear alone, you're probably talking about 15 albums worth of material just between those 2 bands. But putting together a power metal or traditional heavy metal tour. I mean, Brainstorm to me, I mean, especially just talking about just the RPM artists. I mean, Brainstorm, you guys to me would fit the traditional heavy metal bill perfectly because I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, having listened to the entire catalog, and on the bright side, us not being able to kind of come together on the show a couple weeks ago actually did allow us to go back and completely get a catalog
Oh yeah.
refreshing. So that was good because I was able to. We were both able to go all the way back from the beginning and work our way back forward to Plague of Rats. But one thing that I do like about Brainstorm is that by and large, I'm just speaking in general terms here. We can get into some more specific details in a minute. I mean, Brainstorm has basically stuck to their formula all the way through, and I know a lot of bands get knocked for that. Disturbed is the best example of that. Do something different, do something different. It all sounds the same. It all sounds the same. We're going to take a break, come back with something different. We don't like it. It doesn't sound like you. Oh my God, what the hell do you want?
There you go.
But
Exactly.
yeah,
There you go. Exactly. That's
but
it.
right. Yeah, but I like the formula that Brainstorm
hmm
that you guys came up with. Especially with the guys on the first couple albums. Now, Jason made a good point on the first couple albums. The first couple albums leaned a little more to the thrash side,
hmm
which for us is fine because, like you, that's where our foundation is built in thrash metal. So that's kind of right in our wheelhouse anyway. But when you joined the band, you added a little bit of a different element vocally than the original singer did.
Yeah,
Uh, then
I
uh,
feel like I think there's a little bit more high end to it now
yes,
than
yeah,
before because I think you're hitting some of those high notes that I don't think the previous singers could do. So,
yeah.
um,
So Andy, you joined in the band, added a little bit of a different element. You with the third album, you heard a little bit more of the introduction of the power metal, quote unquote power metal style on Ambiguity. But since that album moving forward, you guys developed a formula that to me has worked the entire time. There really hasn't
mhm.
been any need to deviate from that course. And like I say, I was speaking just in general terms. Now, obviously, not every album sounds the same from one song to the next and everything like that. And we'll get into a little bit of the Indian influence that you guys have incorporated on a couple albums here and there. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you guys have their traditional heavy metal sound, sprinkling in some of those power metal elements down to a T, as far as I'm concerned. That's just speaking for me, not speaking for Jason necessarily. But uh, so there's really you guys really haven't had any reason to deviate from it. So I mean, building a bill of just the traditional heavy metal style. If you want to add in Primal Fear, who's basically they've been the predominantly power metal style the entire time, and you guys would mesh together so well. It wouldn't even really. There are obviously other bands that RPM could bring along who would also fit the bill. All for Metal is one of them. They're kind of an up and coming act. I actually reviewed one of their albums last year.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you're familiar with All for Metal, but they're on the same label as you guys, and
Yeah, I know. I just
yeah,
seen them several days ago with Orton Hogan.
of course you did, of course, yeah, and we're and Orden and Orden Ogan and
Just so you
Of
know,
course.
Andy, for some reason we always create an ongoing joke with certain bands on here. So anytime something comes up, I'm gonna be able to tell Chris, I'm like, Andy probably seen those guys.
yeah, yeah. There does
Of
always
course you did.
yeah there
Of
does
course,
always be some sort of inside joke we develop with every guest, and
yeah,
that's
it
gonna
is. Yeah. I love it though.
that's gonna be
It's
it.
awesome to
But
do. So.
and you just brought up Orden Ogan. I think I can't. Shit. I know that I reviewed. I know for a fact I reviewed one of their.
Oh
I
yeah.
think it may have been. Damn it! One of their. I know it may have been Final Days, maybe, or The Order of Fear. I know that I reviewed one of Orden Ogan's albums. So I mean, they would fit on a bill with you guys in Primal Fear perfectly. I mean, you put those three bands on there, and even if you want to bring All for Metal as an opener, I mean, that's as solid of a 4-act bill as far as traditional heavy metal and power metal combined that
Well,
that
you
you
know, he,
that you're gonna find with bands who are out right now. Obviously, there are other bands you could like. Well, what about this band? Well, they're not doing anything. Well, what about that band? They're in between this there. So I
I
mean,
mean,
I would
he
pay.
brought
I'd
up
pay those four
he brought.
bands. I'd pay $100 to see those four bands.
Oh yeah. I like that he brought up Rage earlier, and I said, well, if you got Rage and Brainstorm, you can have just like 5 hours of music, because I mean, Rage is what, like 26 albums or something.
26 albums, yeah. I mean,
Like 40 albums between the two. I think we
I
just pulled
know
something
that's
off here.
insane to me. I mean, but that's actually another thing that I can really appreciate about a lot of European bands. They don't fuck around. They will pump
Well,
out some
that's
music.
kind of what I was going to bring up with Andy was like the band did get kind of a late start from its inception, but
Right.
when they got going, man, they didn't fuck around, man.
Yeah.
They were rolling stuff out. I mean, you talk about from '97 to '03, and you got 5 albums. I'm like, that's just unreal to think about. Especially during that time when you think about bands over here that were releasing stuff at that time, 97, 98, you probably didn't hear from them again for until '03. So, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so they weren't doing anything like bam, 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 So,
Yeah. I know.
I think that's like, I've heard a lot of bands we talk to say this is like, we want to put stuff out because if you don't, then you kind of get forgotten about, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, if you spend too much time in between, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about those guys. So I mean,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
not
that
giving
is
people,
true.
you're not giving the fans time to be like, oh, Brainstorm's just like, you're not going to miss us. So you know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah,
No.
there's a difference, between the older days and what's going on these days, because the fact that the new album is now 3.5 years since since the release of the last
Mhm.
album. That is something that caused us a lot of trouble in some weeks ago, because we had to start on a lower level than we thought we are. So because we have to bring back the memories to the people that, hey, we
Right.
are the band you've seen here and there, and
Hmm.
we've been playing this festival and that show and blah blah blah. So that is 3.5 years is a long time these days. So
Yeah, it is.
you shouldn't wait so long. But as I said, so because of the pandemic and stuff, we went through difficult times. And it took a while to come back on our feet. So, but yeah, 3.5 years. That is a bit too long, so I say sometimes.
I think
So, but okay, we will make it work it out. So, but anyhow, but 3.5 years, not good.
I wish more bands. I wish more bands would adopt that sentiment. 3.5 years is too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah, 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 yeah.
like
You can, of course, you can imagine that right after we went out of the studio, and I told the other guys not to stop to write any songs, because I said, okay, this is this album, okay. now we started working on it with all the cover and blah blah blah, all the other things, you know. But I said, you guys going back to our rehearsing room to go on writing new songs because that's very important, you know. Because we cannot wait another 3.5 years for the next one.
Yeah.
No,
Right. Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're
And,
talking
and it's
maybe.
and it's crazy. We had a guest on last year that actually had an EP and an album out in the same year because they had so much material written,
Yeah.
and he was just like, "Man, I want to get all this out because I think I think he's like looking at. I want to start a new, try to start anew and try to change the sound a little bit on the next one. So we'll push everything that we have written, just push it out. And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy to have an EP and an album out in the same year is pretty rare. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, you can't you can't like ignore that the band if they're like always putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's and
we
that's
also have
amazing to
recorded more
me,
songs. We have recorded more songs than we do release now on the album. And
right?
there will be more songs coming up, you know. So let's say 3-4 months after the release, another 3-4 months after, you know, we'll be releasing another other songs as well because we have recorded more, and that's the reason you have to be around. So you have to release songs, you know, so to be not forgotten, to be not forgotten on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, you know. So and the listeners, they always want to have something new, so that's the reason why every 2-3
So
months bringing out another song.
kind
Yeah.
of goes back to we brought up Armored Saints. So it kind of goes back to one of their songs off one of their last albums. I think it was like 2020, 2021. But they had a song on there called "End of the Attention Span."
Yep. Exactly.
I
That's
mean,
what it is.
everybody's attention span is so short now with things. It's crazy. But that's kind of where we're at. So
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of where we are. Yeah.
So you brought up the new album about tracking and stuff. So I wanted to ask this. I don't know if you're aware, but like when he sent us out the release or whatever, I noticed on the CD, "Celebrate Youth" is on there, but the
Uh huh.
vinyl is not. So is there some story behind why it didn't make the vinyl?
Yeah, it was the vinyl was too long. I think it was too long. So I think
Too
because
long. Okay.
there's only a space for let's say 20-25 minutes or so each side. And so
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
the
That makes
reason.
sense.
Yeah, and
That makes sense.
the,
So instead of doing a double album, it's better just to cut the song, I guess.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Because I
yeah, yeah.
know we've talked to a lot of bands that tell us about the troubles and struggles about getting vinyl done. It's like
Yeah.
he said, "Oh yeah, you almost have to do like 6 months in advance to even get it on time." I'm just like, that's crazy
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
think.
But
But
"Celebrate Youth" is something is a song I grew up with, you know. So of course I've always been a metalhead, you know, a big one. But of course you're not aware of listening to some radio songs.
Oh
So
yeah.
when I was 14, 15 years old, something like that, you know, so that was a song that I've always listened to in the radio, and I think that's a song that reminded me of my childhood, you know, and everything. So and then when we started talking about what song do we want to have as on the as bonus on the album, and I was really like, yeah, why not recording a cover track? Because that's unusual for Brainstorm. We've never
Yes, it is.
recorded.
You guys have three, as far as I know.
So you know it better than me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we did the Sirens of Sabotage once. Yeah, I know. Do you have this one as well?
Okay, then maybe you've done four because the three that
Yeah,
I knew of, the three
because
that I knew.
we done this. Sirens is very funny. We done this for a Metal Blade compilation, but we
Oh,
didn't.
that's why I missed that one.
Yeah, but we did this at the time when we did not have we did not have the time for all of us to go into the studio because of our jobs and stuff. And so I sat in our in an office back in the corner, you know, and started to sing the siren song, you know. So it's not a very good production anyhow. So but we did this one as well. Yeah. This, years ago, back in the days. But
Well,
yeah,
Yeah, the covers that I know of, obviously "Celebrate Youth." Hopefully, we'll get to hear that once the album comes out. I don't know if it'll be on the Spotify version when it comes out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
because
will.
I did look for it and I was like, all right, I can't find it at the moment. But then on Just Highs No Lows, 12 Years of Persistence, you guys have a cover of "Is This the Way to Amarillo" by Tony Christie,
Oh, I
and
love this one. I
yeah,
love
and
this one.
then you guys, which was an interesting choice, but I can tell you guys that well, not you because you weren't around for this one, but well, maybe you were. Hang on, let me find the damn album. Hold on a second. No, yeah, see, you weren't around for this one, but you can tell the guys had fun with it. They did a cover of "Wooly Bully" by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs on
It was with me. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, on Holy. So that was an interesting one, but you can tell that they had fun with that one. So yeah, I just knew of those three, but yeah, I completely I that the one that was on the compilation, yeah, I missed that one. But yeah, but it still definitely still adheres to the point that you guys haven't done very many of those over the years. And there's another thing that I actually noticed. You guys haven't done a power ballad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only song I can really even find that came close was "Before the Dawn," and that was, I mean, that one's kind of a power ballad if you squint while you're listening to it, but I mean that's kind of really the only song that I could even consider,
Well, I mean,
you guys doing close to a ballad. So I mean, not that it's a rule that you have to do it, but considering you guys are in the traditional slash power metal kind of arena, that's kind of something that you would figure would be sprinkled in every now and then. But a band that's been around 36 years, I mean, that was really the only song I could find. So there's just kind of a little interesting wrinkle that I found.
We have may you call it not a ballad, but in the case of the last album with um, what was it? There is no tomorrow. Blah, 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 the song. Um, we had a song on the last album. Sorry, I can't remember my own song. But anyhow, that was a ballad, so I might say, or
Well, I mean, there's been a couple songs where I mean, you guys did like tempo changes to where, I mean, you brought the tempo down, but I mean, as far as just like a full on power ballad, I mean, that was really the only one that I could really find was close was "Before the Dawn." But I mean, like I said, there's no problem with it. It was just I was listening to everything, and after a couple albums, I kind of was like, have they done a ballad? It's just, because I mean, it's not necessarily something I look for, but I mean, if I've listened to an artist long enough, or if I'm doing some research for a show, I kind of always at some point kind of see if I can kind of pick out their Unforgiven or Cemetery Gates or something like that, to see if there's one in there. And I was like, it took me a couple hours. I was like, I don't think they've done a ballad. And then over the last, few days, I've kind of, putting some show notes together and everything. And I went back and I went to a couple albums where I thought I remembered hearing something that was a little more down tempo. And I was like, okay, no, it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. And last night I came back across it, and I was like, that's the one it was. So I made a note of it to just kind of bring that up. But
it
I
has to
mean,
make sense. It says, for example, a lot of people ask me for just why Plague of Rats is such a heavy album. We got five up tempo speed songs on the album, which is
mhm.
also unusual for a band like Brainstorm. But this was how we felt that moment, when we started
Yeah.
writing the songs, this is what comes out, so I'm a big fan of not taking care about what you have to have on the album. I'm
Oh,
always
sure.
taking
Yeah.
care about what comes out, what is honest, and this is how we felt, but when we were done in the studio, I looked at Torsten and said to him, wow, there's a lot of fast songs on the album this time, but but yeah, I didn't really recognize while we were recording, but it's to me it sounds perfect. I think it's especially I do always look like on the three latest albums, like with Midnight Goes, Wall of Skulls, and now with Plague of Rats. Uh, these are the song, the albums we recorded together with Sabe, and I think this is the how do you say the heaviest album of those three. So
I think you could definitely make that case.
and the
Yeah.
darkest
I
one
mean,
as well.
Yeah.
So
with
yeah, this
I mean,
is
with Torsten and Millen, man, you guys have a tandem guitar attack, man. Those guys tear it up out there. And I don't know if it's like on purpose or not, but sometimes I feel like I'll listen to something and I'm like, man, that's like they're trying to like outplay each other or something.
You probably are.
But man, like the guitar work on all of the albums are, of course, those guys have been part of the band since its inception, so
Yeah.
it's kind of gotten all,
Well, and and you, like Jason, you and I have talked about, even back before that when they were in Twilight together.
right. So it's I guess it's just a comfortability thing at this point to where
Yeah.
they just know what each other's going to do, and they just kind of are able to ad lib to it pretty well. So
But I mean, you definitely can't argue with the chemistry that those two have together. I mean, you definitely can't.
and you can tell Milan that we feel like we've watched him grow from watched him grow and all this because we I was going back looking at videos too, and I said, hey, is that the same guy? Like, oh, he got gray. I was like, I feel like I just watched the band grow watching the videos. Like, pretty
yeah.
cool
But
to be.
the thing we have in Brainstorm is really like you already mentioned. Especially Dieter, Torsten, and Milan. They founded the band back in '89. No, yeah, back in '89, and this is something you may not find anymore in the metal scene these days. So the most of the bands they split up. Within
Yeah.
35 years or so. So and the only guy. Switch was the singer once, and now we have a new bass guitarist for the third time. But that's yeah, of course, that's something very special, to have three members of the band, just always
That
hanging out
long,
together,
yeah.
since so many years, and
Yeah.
through all the ups and downs.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said to be able to maintain that kind of longevity. I mean, the bass player aside, but I mean, because I mean, Andy, at this point, you're on your 26th year in the band, so you're talking 26 years for you, 36 years for the other guys. Some of those, yeah, like I say, I'm not trying to date you or anything, but
No, 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 no.
but
I released I released 24 albums. I'm in the band since 26. No, it got nothing to do with my age.
yes.
I did it all in 1 year.
Yeah. But you mentioned some bands that have had some careers like this. I mean, Megadeth is down to just down to Dave Mustaine. Metallica. I mean, as long as they've been around, I mean, they're on two original members. Pantera's on two original members.
You brought that.
So
You brought that
Iron.
up. That reminded me of that. I can't remember who the band was that we were talking to, but it was funny because in their thing it said we changed lineups more than Megadeth. Remember that?
Oh God, who
I
was
can't remember who
that?
that was, but it's in their Spotify thing. It says we changed lineups more than Megadeth. It's like what?
Yeah. Oh.
That was hilarious, dude. That was so,
I'm gonna have to take a look back at our last
yeah.
few interviews
That-
because I know it was one of our guests. I remember us talking about it. I can't
yeah,
remember
you
who
brought it
that
up in
was.
the interview, and I thought that was hilarious. But
Oh, so did they? Oh shit, who was that? I don't know. I'll think about it. But yeah, no, it was it was one. But I mean, it is hard. I mean, it's hard because I mean, when a band's together that long, I mean, you got personalities, and then sometimes they butt heads, and you just get these combustible elements. But then sometimes it just bottom line, it just flat out works, and when it works, it just there's really nothing that can kind of come between the members, and then they
well, if not we keep talking about the age or whatever, but if it's any consolation, you guys are like fine wine. You're definitely getting better with the age. So I
oh
think, yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
no question
you,
about that.
to me, the only album that I thought was probably out of place than the rest of them was Unholy. I thought that was a whole different, you know, a whole different like writing concept or whatever they were doing there. But that album was probably the only one I would say would be out of place from the rest of the catalog. But
I could kind of agree with that because
yeah,
it was
because when I heard it first, I'm just like, man, that's kind of risky trying to change up stuff that early in the career. But
yeah.
but they got it. I mean, they got back on track, and of course, we're here today. So that says a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
from man. And I wanted to bring up something too because I thought it was pretty wild. Let me find that real quick. It was if my thing will work. What's going on? Well, I just did it this way. There was like a compilation or something. Oh yeah, it was the just highs and lows, and it says 12 years of persistence, and I thought that was kind of amazing because that's kind of the words that I was thinking about when I thought about the band being together and still doing things after all this time. I was like, man, that's a persistent band,
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
overcome a lot. I guarantee you
Yeah.
from '89 to 2025. So I think that was a perfect name for a an album there, a compilation album. So
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
and the funny and another crazy thing about that is they did that. You guys did that compilation only 12 years into your career, and that's not even halfway through where you guys are at now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you're
right,
talking you guys talking about the length of the career of the band. It's in its entirety is already at 36 years. That compilation came out a third of the way through.
right,
A
yeah,
third of the way through the career. I mean, obviously, at the time you have no idea that that's going to happen, but it's just
right.
a little bit of revisionist history. Looking back on it now is kind of funny because 12 years in, you're like, let's do a compilation. Then you got 24 more years and another
Yeah, yeah,
eight
yeah,
nine albums on top of that. It's just
yeah.
you probably do two more compilations at this point at the rate you guys went. So it's it's just another one of those weird things that you can look back on and be like, at the time you guys probably had no idea this, that, and the other thing, but yeah, it's awesome.
So I wanted to ask too. It's like you brought up the bass player. So what's been like the main thing, the struggles with keeping somebody permanent there?
I think Tony was in a band for about 15 years or so, 15 or 16 years.
Yeah.
And then he quit because of his job. And
Okay.
then we replaced him with Andreas. Andreas been on tour with us for over at least 2 years. And then his wife became pregnant. I told him not to do
Gotcha.
anything, and I told him to stay away. And then he asked, then he told me that his wife's pregnant. And I said, "Damn it! I knew we should have done the tour once more."
Well,
He's
to be fair, he's in a rock band and he got his wife pregnant. So I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
true.
Which
That's
is
true.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's his wife.
Nothing.
uh,
It's his wife.
you ain't got some groupie knocking on the door 9 months
Yeah,
later
we're
going,
not
"Hey,
talking
here's
about
your
the
baby,"
others. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then the funny thing it was really that two, let's say 2 or 3 weeks before Andreas told us, we read in the newspaper that there's a bass guitarist moved from Athens to Heidenheim, where our practicing room is. And he on his interview he had in this newspaper, he told that he got asked what he knows about Heidenheim, and he said, nothing really special. They got a soccer club, a soccer club playing in the first division, and Brainstorm are based there. And I'm a huge Brainstorm fan. He said, so, and a lot of people just told us that, there's a guy from Greece playing bass and blah blah blah. And as I said, 3 weeks after, Andreas told us to leave, and then we said, okay, why should we ask somebody else? Because he's living right in the same city. So
Uh-huh.
that was quite easy. And then we invited him, and everything from this moment on just went really quick. So he just learned the songs. He just knew how to play it. And I think it took about 3 or 4 weeks again, and then we went up on stage together with him. So, but as always, he's a
Yeah.
he's he's a great guy. So Greeks are always like Uzo, and then no,
Well,
he's
I would
he's
I
a
would
rocket.
imagine him. I would imagine him being a fan. He's probably been probably playing some of your stuff on the side anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah,
so he
yeah,
probably
yeah,
knew a
yeah,
lot of it already. So
yeah,
so I
yeah,
mean,
So
that's
yeah.
yeah,
kind of that's kind of smart in a way because
doesn't
I mean
hurt.
you can
Definitely
yeah
doesn't hurt.
He really thought there's somebody cheating him, saying that, hey, this is Milan from Brainstorm, and I wanted to invite you to our practice
Yeah,
room. And he thought,
yeah.
yeah, okay, somebody has read the interview, so somebody wants to cheat me. So, but no, 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 it was all true.
Well, it's
he
like
didn't he didn't send all the messages of spam and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's like that. It's like that
yeah.
movie Rockstar when they call him up. When they
Yeah.
call Mark Wahlberg's character up, is like, hey, this is so and so from Steel Dragon. He goes, get the fuck out of here, and he hangs up the phone. And
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's cool about that is that kind of story that story reminds me a little bit about I don't know Andy if you've heard the story about but I actually heard this from Matt. It was a Matt Pinfield thing from years and years ago. But I heard Matt Pinfield tell the story about how Brian Johnson actually got
Oh
the
yeah.
job singing for AC/DC after Bon Scott died.
No.
Bon Scott actually went to see I think it was Budgie. I think is who. I think
Yeah,
it was
but
Budgie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Budgie. Yeah. Bon Scott actually went to see a Budgie show one night, and Brian Johnson is up on stage, and he's rolling around on the stage, and he's screaming and everything. And Bon Scott went back to the rest of the guys in the band. He's like, "You guys should have seen this dude from this band that I just saw. He was rolling around on stage and screaming. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen." And it turns out that his damn appendix burst on stage. It wasn't even part of the act that his appendix burst on stage. He was writhing around in pain because he's like, get me the fuck off this stage, get me to the hospital. But so Bon Scott saw that, and we obviously know that Bon Scott died way too young, but
Yeah.
the rest of the band remembered that from Bon telling them about that. So when they were in the market for the new singer, they remembered Bon telling them about Brian Johnson, and the rest is history.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah, that
okay, never
so
knew this. Didn't know
yeah,
this.
so that was Matt Pinfield told that story. I can't remember if it was on 120 Minutes or not back in the day when he was doing that show, but that one kind of always stuck with me about how stuff just you never because he wasn't there recruiting, just there seeing the show, saw one of the craziest things he's ever seen, quote unquote, and turns out the guy was having a medical emergency right there on stage,
Wow.
and then it is what it is. But so.
Yeah.
And of course, again, it's when James Hetfield got burned in Montreal, they had the guitar tech fill in for him while he was recovering, and on the behind the music, James was like, "If you're a guitar tech, learn the band's songs. You never know when you're gonna be needed as a fill in. You
That's
never
true.
know. You never know." Dude
I
got
had
to
this
come.
once. I had this once in my lifetime because already 10 years ago I had kidney stones, and
Oh yeah,
those were that was a pain. Holy shit, So
yeah,
but I wasn't really able to breathe anymore. But I had to sing for at least two more songs. I just felt, wow, there's pain coming up, and I was really like, wow, what is this? I knew it from some weeks ago before, but I knew what's going on. Then I had to stay on the stage for two more songs. That was really like, holy crap, this was.
yeah.
But anyhow, yeah.
So
Literally,
we'll back around.
powering through. Yeah.
I want to get back around to the upcoming release, of course, that's coming up next Friday, Plague of Rats. One of the things that we always love about metal, we've talked about this a lot, is they probably have the most
Yeah.
iconic album covers. I mean,
Yeah, you
you
can't hold
could
a
probably
candle.
go up to any metal album. I could probably see a band right now and have some of the album covers and be like, that's got to be a fucking metal band. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
they're just so differently done, I think, than most stuff. But I wanted to
Yeah.
show this and kind of get
That's amazing, or isn't it? That's
It
It's
is like
oh,
I mean, you
it's
guys
incredible.
have. So I wanted to ask: does the same guy do all of your stuff, or do you guys get different people?
no, it's the same guy. He's this guy's from Hungary, and just did the Midnight Ghost and the Wall of Skulls as well. And I know him now for many years now, and he's amazing. He did a
He
lot of
is.
other artworks as well, like Accept, for example.
Okay.
And but I think, to be very honest, I just told him, "Well, I think Eula, that's his name. I think Eula, this is your masterpiece." I love
It's
this one. I love this
it's
one.
very good. Yeah. I mean,
He's
like I
gonna
said, all
he's gonna have a
the
hard
ones
time topping
before,
it.
yeah, the ones before are awesome too. Like dude has a great. He's a great artist, man. He's man.
I
The
love his
Oh,
work. I
it's
love
in
yeah,
it.
the
it's
detail and the talent
yeah,
he puts into
Yeah,
that, man.
yeah.
it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Wall of Skulls. I mean, was basically all black with just the orange flames showing
Hmm.
through the eyes and the mouths of the skulls. But I mean, it was so subtle yet powerful at the same time. But I mean, this one's a little more over the top because it's not nearly as dark as Wall of Skulls, of course.
Right.
But I mean, just the use of the greens and the golds together.
Yeah.
I mean, it really. And then I don't have the, but I mean, I don't. Oh man, I feel bad because I don't remember the name of this deity, but you know, he's got the one arm in the back throwing up the horns and everything. So I mean,
Right. Yeah. That's pretty
it's,
cool.
it's so well done.
But you know what? The thing is, really, I grew up with, as I already said, like Iron Maiden and stuff, And when I
Yeah.
was just about, let's say, what was it, 14 or 15 years or whatever, Power Slave came out. And for
Hmm.
example, later on, with Somewhere in Time, I loved watching those the cover artwork while listening to the songs. And I
Hmm.
always found a detail here, a hidden message there, So, like for example, on Power Slave, you can find this Eddie was here, the sign somewhere lost and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is the thing I told I say to myself when I started making music. Whenever I do release an album, the cover is really important. I have to. It's really important to me to watch the cover to find details here and there, and I'm still sure there's some details here and there I haven't found so far, but Beulah is doing an amazing job. I love what he did on Midnight Ghost. When he brought up
Hmm.
all the ghosts and demons and stuff. So and this child under the bed. Just laying there with the lights on and stuff. That's awesome. And the same with the Wall of Skulls. And now this one, amazing. I love his work. He's such a cute, such a friendly guy. So you won't believe. But the funny thing is, really, I always do explain it with huge letters. I explain it every single detail. I tell him, uh, but he brings you a sketch, and I think, well, he hasn't understand everything. So, but then a few days after, you do receive an email, and you open up, and what you can see is something like this. More or less, more or less finalized. So, and
Yeah.
I'm always blown away. This guy is so amazing. He brings it more down to the point than I ever could explain. So amazing. I love it. It's
Hopefully,
Well,
definitely a
hopefully,
cover you have to have on vinyl, and you have to have it, or maybe on the earbook as well, which is the same size. So I think it really, really makes sense, especially if you have it probably at home on a big
yeah,
on a vinyl cover.
yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah. I always like to have a hard copy of one way or the other. I mean, I
Hmm.
got a record player, which I don't break it out too often, but I do have one. But I just like keeping the albums just for that, just for the artwork and some of the some of the stuff on the inside's usually a little bit more sometimes you get extra stuff in there too.
Sometimes, yeah.
So it's good because I mean we actually ordered one from a German band over there called Hexed, and they sent over their album to us, and it had like a little catalog booklet in with it that didn't come
Yep.
with the CD. So
Yeah.
it had like an explanation of each song, which was cool. I said, oh, I love this because they're telling you the story behind each track, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you listen to stuff, and that's kind of like what we said we love about music is everybody's going to relate to a song differently, and they're going to
Hmm.
have their own. It's going to speak to them different. You know what I mean? So they're going to have their own visual of what that song means. And probably nobody out there is going to be in the same realm as who wrote it.
We have
So
That's
we
true.
have several different versions of this album. There's a normal jewel case, of course, and then we have a digi pack featuring the bonus track, as we already mentioned,
right,
this
right.
"Celebrate Youth," and we have
Yeah.
a DVD on it with making of the cover, making of stage clothes, and so on. There's about 45 minutes documentary, and
Oh, that's awesome.
and then we have a earbook. As I said, it's the same size like a vinyl, but with a lot of pages in there and extra graphics and stuff. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I love it. I love it.
One day we're going to be able to get an artist to do all of our stuff, I guess. But it's it's well, I mean the picture in the background of our stuff was actually something I kind of created on AI, which I I don't really care for AI a lot, but being as we don't make money doing this. This is kind of just our love for metal. So
Right.
it's kind of like, okay, we got to find out what we can do and what we can make work with what money we have. So
Yeah.
so that's what we came up with last year. This
Yeah.
year, I'm trying to do some stuff with what I had because this is our new T-shirt design in the back from last year. So this year, I'm trying to like come up with designs or whatever, and I know what I want, but when I try to like do anything online myself, nothing's touching what I'm actually visualizing. So
Yeah.
I have reached out to a couple of artists. I haven't gotten a definite back yet. One of the guys said I'll draw something up and send it to you, but I haven't got anything yet. So I'm not sure. He's a pretty like it's actually one of the guys that been on the show. It was his artist for his album covers, and
Yep.
I had talked to him, and he told me what he charged, and I said, "Well, that's doable." So we can see what you can come up with. So, but nothing yet. But maybe we'll hook up with an artist that'll work with us for from here on out, and it'd be cool to have
That
an actual
would.
artwork. You know what I mean? So
Oh man, if we were able to get anything close to a Brainstorm album cover, I'd be.
oh well,
Oh my lord.
I'm not gonna get my hopes up that high, but it's
Well, I mean, yeah, like I say, if we got
I can
close,
give
I
you his
mean,
phone number,
uh,
but I cannot pay his bills. So your
well,
bills
that's
are
what I'm saying.
that's true. Yeah.
He might be a little bit out of my price range
Yeah.
from what I'm
With
seeing. So
with
uh,
that talent, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, that's one of those album covers. I mean, well, that and Wall of Skulls and all of them that he's done. Midnight
Hmm.
Ghost, all that stuff. Those are, like you said, those are album covers that you have to study for a minute just to take it all in.
Yeah.
yes.
Because that isn't just one of those. Oh, see, that's cool, and you set it down and you just walk off. But I mean, there's so much going on, and in a good way. Like it's not busy for the sake of being busy and everything else. There's a
Hmm.
there's a flow to it. There's a rhyme and reason for everything. So, but
Yeah,
it's one of
yeah.
those things where, all right, I got to just like take this in for a minute to you know to be able to see everything that's in there.
Now,
But
did he do the Memorial Roots one too, or
Pardon?
did he do the Memorial Roots album
No,
cover?
no.
He didn't.
Memorial Roots was done by I don't remember his name. He did also Liquid Monster and on this
Okay.
perfect moment. That's the same kind of guy who did the Aim and a Moth cover.
Oh, okay. Okay.
oh, all right, okay,
I was just looking at that one, and I thought that's kind of cool. It almost looked like kind of cracked glass, I guess, or something on that one. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. I'm not sure if that's what it's supposed to be, but
This is the then you have the re-release. The album's got originally released with a, so in my ears, a bad sound, and then a few years after we re-released the album
okay.
with a, yeah, a special, yeah,
That's what this one
cover.
says.
We changed the cover
Rerooted. So
artwork a little bit, like it looked like it got broken, So
right, yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Yeah,
that's
it's
the
the rerooted
re-release,
one. Yeah, yeah,
rerouted,
yeah.
rerouted. We call it Memorial
That's
Roots
awesome.
rerouted.
That's good. I like that. It's very creative. I think pretty clever.
yeah.
Uh, I like the little subtle the subtle creativity with stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Now, I don't know if you've ever been asked this or not, but when I first like looked you guys up, I didn't have names or nothing, so I was just like, but you and Torsten, I thought when I first seen, it, I was like, man, those guys have to be brothers because I mean they look so much
No.
alike. Uh, but, but yeah, I was like, once I seen the names, of course, I was like, oh, that's crazy how much they resemble, but they're not even related. So uh,
No, we're not. No, we're not.
that's pretty wild.
We're not sharing anything in our life except the music.
Except the music, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah. All right.
So is
Well,
the so this album is going to be available for CD and vinyl. Then
Yes. So,
okay.
yes.
So is that going
that's
to be
cool. That's
available
cool.
through the website or through the record
To
label?
our website for record company, and of course, all the record dealers, hopefully near your store, near your hometown. That's what I
Oh, okay.
always think, and I always hope. But I know we have different times. I've been told
Hmm.
that download is getting bigger and bigger. Of course, So
Hmm.
the funny thing is that I just wanted to give away my one of my copies to some friends. They looked at me like said, "Hey, Andy, thanks very much, but I haven't got a CD player anymore." And I was like, "Okay." So yeah, which is sad, but anyhow,
Yeah.
yeah. We got two different versions of vinyl with like splattered cover
Oh yeah.
colors and so, and then we have this jewel case with we've got the digi pack, with a bonus track and DVD, and we have this huge earbook with extra pages, extra graphics and stuff, and also of course the CD and DVD included.
The
So
extra stuff. That's what I want. So
Yeah.
extra, extra.
extra, extra. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just like having a piece of like if there's untold stories or like I bought
We
the
have liner notes in it. We have
yeah, yeah,
liner
yeah.
notes.
So I bought the last Machine Head album. Oh man, which one was it I bought? Was it the
Of
Burning Red I
Kingdom
bought?
of the last one was of Kingdom and Crown, but
No, no, no. The one that I bought that they redone and had like extra pictures and stuff in it, and I
oh,
showed it to you. I can't remember.
yeah,
I
I
don't
think it
remember
was.
which one. But yeah, it had
I
like
think it
never
was. Yeah,
before.
I think it was the
Yeah, I think
Burning
it was
Red.
the Burning Red. But they had like never before seen like tour pictures and stuff they had included, and I thought that was pretty cool to see. Some of that stuff from years ago that never got out there. He's like, yeah, no, it never
Yeah,
made any magazines or anything. These pictures are just totally ours, personal. Nobody ever had them. I'm like, oh, this is cool. To be able to be
that's
able to
even
see,
more
yeah, to be able
rare.
to see something that never was seen before. So it's
Yeah,
pretty cool to see those things. And like I said, anything that's related to the album or songs that would not normally be in a CD are usually in the album, then I'll usually buy the album because I like the stories. The stories behind everything is what always
hmm
intrigues me because I always like to. Because like I said, I hear a song and I think of it my way, but then if I know what you guys were writing about when you wrote it, I'm thinking, oh, I can definitely hear that. So it's kind of it kind of gives me a little bit of better perspective on the song and what you guys were feeling when you wrote it. So I like
Yeah.
things like that. So that's just I don't know. That's just me, but you know.
No, not Helen. It's not just you. I mean, I know a lot of people like that extra kind of quote unquote bonus content. They kind of like that stuff.
So I'm going to tell you guys this: the Shepherd Girl is going to be a song that when I hear that first note, I'm going to be like, "That's Brainstorm," because I'm going to know. Because I mean, that song is already. I've already heard it so much that when it comes on in my like songs now, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that new Brainstorm song. It's like I'm already doing it, so it's like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
got that. It's just got a kind of an iconic intro, I think. That's kind of kind of rare and you don't really hear, so it kind of sticks with you. And I don't know if you follow this or not, but you guys already have 140K views on YouTube for that video. So
That's actually that's
in
pretty
eight
good. So
days,
quick.
in
Yeah,
eight
that's
days, it's
pretty.
pretty
Yeah,
damn
that's
good.
good.
Yeah. So
It is.
and then like I think one of the first releases off the album. I have to go back and look, but the first video off the album is up to like
Garuda
337,000 or something. So man, you
40,
guys are definitely getting
43,
the views.
430.
It's
something
up
like that.
430 now. Oh, okay,
430,
nice,
450, something like
nice,
that. Yep. Yeah, yeah.
nice. So it's actually been viewed a lot more since yesterday. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a.
I should have got the
I
actual numbers. You know.
To be very honest, I have no idea what this actually means. So I'm not really too familiar with that. So I'm taking care
Well,
about the video. If the video is cool,
yeah,
people should watch it. But of course, we're old school. We're
right.
in some way we're an old fashioned metal band. So and
Hmm.
we're not taking too much. We're not taking too much care about these things. So as we still think it's the most important thing to have the people in the venues to play in front of them, and they have to smell the sweat. So that's what I always thinking. So this
Yeah,
is how I when I was a kid, this is how I learned about anything about music, about metal shows and stuff. When I came home, my father was always upset. You're stinking like a pig. So now was like, if so, I've done everything right.
That's
that's right.
that's
Yeah,
how, yeah, that's how you know you had a great time.
that's
Hell yeah.
that's the mosh pit smell you're
Yes.
smelling.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
exactly. the
Yeah.
first time
That.
I, the first time I jumped down from stage, so it was on one of the first shows of Sepultura when they came to Germany because it was sort of just on Rockford Ludwigsburg. A friend of me looked at me and I was about, let's say, 15, something like this, maybe 16. And he looked at me like, "Oh, you will not dare to jump to climb up on stage and jump into the crowd." Uh, you know, 15,
Yeah,
16
hold
years
my
old.
beer.
Don't challenge me.
Yeah.
And so
Hold
I
my
did
beer.
it.
Oh
This
yeah.
was well, but to be very honest, I was scared to death in that moment. I was scared to death. I did it, but I was so holy fucking scared to death. But anyhow, I
Yeah, they
did
had
it.
that adrenaline going though. But
Yeah, yeah,
now talking about the new album, talking about the Shepherd Girl and Garuda, you guys brought back that for those two songs, you guys brought back that Indian sound that you guys
Hmm.
have put on your albums here and there. So where did who was the catalyst for bringing that sound into the band, the Indian influence?
yeah. Some people think that it was the first time we recorded this was on Soul Temptation, but that's not true. That's not true because we already recorded Maharaja Palace and Ambiguity.
Yep.
And when I just joined the band for one of the first times, I think the first song we've ever played together was Beyond My. What was it? Beyond My Destiny, I think, was on Ambiguity. That was the first song, and then they introduced me to the instrumental version of Maharaja Palace,
Yep.
and I listened to it, and to be very honest, I have no clues. This happens sometimes, not too often, but well, sometimes, of course. I do listen to a song, and then something like how do you say, a movie opens up in your mind, in your
Sure.
brain,
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I had this dungeon, Maharaja, blah blah. People got killed and whoa, whoa, whoa. I had this in my mind. I was like, wow, this is cool. And I told Torsten about this. And then he started thinking about these Indian harmonies and that stuff. The song didn't have any Indian harmonies until then. And then we started uh, um, using them for the song, And a few years after, we talked about Maharaja Palace again because it was a very, very important song on our album, on our live shows. And then we said, okay, let's do something like this once more, but not just one song. We wanted to have a trilogy on that. But
Okay.
both this song and the trilogy as well, those were fantasy songs. And I always told Torsten, the Indian mythology, they got so many great stories, in
Hmm.
their in all their history and everything, So and I said, one day I would love to write some more songs about some of their very important characters and stuff. And then he said, "Yeah, okay, but it needs to have an inspiration then and stuff." And that is the reason why I just called Eula the cover artist way before we started writing the songs. And then
Sure.
I said, Eula, I need a new cover. I will send you a huge email, with all the things I would like to have on this cover. Please make it ready and bring it on as soon as possible. And then he asked me, why you're already not having, there's no songs around, there's no studio, there's no nothing. Why? I said, I need this for inspiration for the other guys. And then he sent me the
Oh, okay, yeah,
card. I showed the other guys and I said, okay, please, guys, if possible, let's bring this down on tape, So, and that's the reason why I wanted to have it. I knew the story about Garuda, about Gita Govinda, and I think to me it was really, really important to bring it back because I think this Indian mythology in these Indian kind of harmonies, they fit perfectly to our kind of music.
yeah,
And whenever we play Shiva's Tears, Shiva's Tears is a song, this is part of our life set since the release, So, and whenever we
nice.
play a show and we're going down from stage and haven't played this song, people are freaking out. They say, no, 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 guys, you will not leave the venue before you have played this song, So
Yeah,
we have to play this song. So,
yeah.
and this really feels good and it fits perfectly to my ears, So, and yeah, so, but it has to make sense, of course.
Well, yeah, yeah, because you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to throw anything in there. Just be like, we have to have a song that sounds like this in there, and doing it just to do it, because then it just cheapens it. And yeah,
Hmm.
so yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah, but it's amazing to me how well that you guys were able to make it fit, not just on this album. We're talking about the other albums where it appears too, going all the way back to the third album, going all the way back to Ambiguity. So I mean, it's cool that you guys have made that not necessarily a staple, because you do it sporadically, have done it sporadically throughout your career, but you've made it part of the set, like you said, and people want it, and they anticipate a particular song. That's got to be cool as an artist, to have certain songs that you can tell that the people are like, we want X, Y, and Z. In addition to the rest of the set, that's got to be nice, especially when it's like, to me, especially when you do have that Indian influence. That's a little bit unconventional. You don't hear it very often, but the way it's brought in and the way you guys blend it together, and it kind of works so seamlessly to bring something in a little bit outside, like I say, a little unconventional, out of the ordinary, and stuff like that, for it to work and for people to like it so much that they feel like they need it when they come see you.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we'll have it on our as part of our show, So it's gonna be
Yeah,
a Indian night.
there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
we need
There's
to
nothing
we need
wrong
to
with
Yeah,
that.
hook it. We need to hook Brainstorm up with Against Evil. So
You know what? That's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea at all.
we interviewed a band called Against Evil. They're from India, so
Yeah,
it was so we've
yeah, that would be cool. Yeah,
yeah.
they're a thrash metal band from India that we interviewed last year. So yeah. Now on this, it's kind of surprising that you guys are still able to pull off firsts this far into
Yeah.
your career. But on this album, you guys actually pulled off a couple of firsts. You've had guests before. Obviously, you had PV Wagner from Rage,
Mhm.
and you had Seed from Ord and Ogan. You had a couple of guest appearances on Wall of Skulls. This album was no different. You guys had a couple of guest appearances, but for the first time, you had a female
yes.
Mhm.
on the album. You had Elena Sirala from Leaves Eyes, and you also had guttural vocals, which totally caught me off guard. On From Hell, I was not expecting that at all. But you had Alex Kroll do
Yeah.
the vocals on From Hell. So you guys managed to pull off a couple other firsts on this album. So that was kind of nice to hear.
Yeah, on the last album, I just talked about it with Sib, to have some guest vocals on it, and then we had him and Peewee, as you already mentioned. But this time, I just wanted to have somebody on the album, um, but not another power metal singer. You know, Save
Hmm.
and Peavy are both of them are Peavy's a metal icon, and Save is a great metal singer, but both of them are more or less part of the power metal scene. So I wanted to have something totally different, and then I asked myself, is it possible to get somebody on the album with growls and stuff? And you know what? I grew up with Krull. You know, I know him since I'm 15, 16 years old. You know, we just whenever he recorded his first demo tape with Atrocity, oh, we spent nights and days and whatever together in the Rockfabrik in Ludwigsburg. You know, back in the days then. And but the bad thing is really that the same with Ralph. You know, we live close to each other, all three of us. You know, so about 5 miles, you know, from house to house. You know, so and but we never ever done something together. You know, so I called him and I said, Alex, you know what's really sad? We know each other since so many years. You know, we spent so many nights and days together, you know, whatever. And we've been on so many shows, but we've never ever done something together with music. You know, we never played a song together. So and he said, "Yeah, that's true. So what do you think?" And I said, "Yeah, we're recording a new album. I would love to have you on the album. And besides that, um, it's about it's about let's say 9 years or so, 9 years ago, when we shared the stage together with Leaves Ice in Switzerland. Um, and that was one of the first shows for Elena to sing with
Hmm.
Leaves Ice, you know.
Right.
And but I've never been into this band before, you know. But since the moment she jumped in, I said, "Wow, she's got a very special voice, very cool voice. She's a very awesome person, you know, as well." And I asked him, "Would you mind if it's possible to have you on the album with and her as well?" And he said, "Yeah, why not?" So the funny thing is really that she was happy with the situation from the first second on, him as well. But the funny thing is really he asked me, "Do you want me to sing?" And I said, "Alex, are you just fucking crazy?" "No, of course not." "No, stop singing. You know, this is when we were young, you know, just I've listened to Atrocity albums and to Atrocity demo tapes, and you were just only growling. This is how I want you, and so and this is what he did. And to me, to be very honest, it makes the album even more special, you know. So because it's something different, it's something we've never ever had before on the album,
Right. Yeah.
and this is what I was really yeah, that was really important to me, you know, to have something on the album, not just another power metal singer, not just somebody from the US, from England, from Sweden, whatever, you know. So somebody with history, a female voice that really touches me, you know, and a friend on the album, you know. So and that
Right.
is really cool, you know. And every time I look at the cover, I always think about, whoa, this is the cover with Alina and Alex on it. You know, that's cool. That feels really good, to be very honest.
No, I'm sure it does. And again, it's both of those songs. They turned out so fantastically, you know. So now let me ask you this, because we during this interview, you know, we've talked about, you know, and obviously we've joked about it too, of course, but we've talked about the amount of people that you know. But how does it feel? I'm pretty sure I didn't know the answer, but anyway, how does it feel? How does it feel to know that there are so many iconic and influential artists in the genre that you're also in from your same country, and I mean even your same town for that matter, because I mean you say you've had so many people who you've come up with who have made it in the industry. What's it like for what's it mean to you for Germany to be so influential in the heavy metal community?
Oh, I never ever really made up my mind about this, to be very honest. I'm just making music for the sake of music. You know, when I grew up, you know, nobody really ever cared about me. They always said when I just started making music, they always looked at me when I said, one day I will play this venue, or one day I will play outside Germany. They always looked at me when I was about 14 years old. They looked at me like, Brian, he's stupid and he's going nuts again. And but so to me, I you know, probably I've lost the feeling for that in the moment when I joined Megadeth on a show, and I was allowed to go backstage, and then I stood there like with Nick Manson. There was back in the Rust in Peace tour together with Slayer, Testament, and Suicidal Tendencies,
Hmm.
and
I
I've
know,
been
right?
backstage then, and Marty Friedman just brought me backstage, and that was, a, let's say, 1 hour before they went up on stage, and they just changed their clothes and stuff, and I sit there like a schoolboy somewhere in the back,
Yeah.
just looking at them, they changed their clothes, and Dave Mustaine in that moment was a hero to me. He was a god to me, to
Hmm.
be very honest. But I've seen him in underwear. He's totally white, all
Yeah.
over,
Oh
white,
yeah.
white, white.
Yeah.
And standing there with white underwear. So, and I looked at him, and in that moment, I just realized probably to myself, we're all humans. He's not a god. He's just
That's
more like you and me. He's nothing. He's an amazing guitarist. To me, he's an amazing singer and songwriter. Of course,
yeah.
perfect, absolutely. I cannot say anything about the person because I don't know him too much. So it's
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
25 years ago,
Yeah.
and we only talked about a few words. Marty Friedman was very nice in that moment, and Nick Mensa as well. That was all cool. But then I looked at him and I said, like, okay, he's human.
Yeah.
He's human. So, and that was also the moment when I just lost probably not the respect. The respect is and will always be there. Of course, because
Yeah.
of every musician, every person, and that's will always be and stay there. But I've lost the fear to talk to somebody else or to ask somebody, would you join me on stage? Would you do this? Would you do that? And so I'm totally open minded to that. I'm totally free in that, and so even to my heroes in Flames or Soilwork, just last year I think was we played together a show with the Night Flight Orchestra.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was Strit, and
Oh
Strit is
yeah.
to me he's one of my heroes, to be very honest. I love him. I love him in Soilwork so much. Stepping the Drama and stuff. Some of the best albums ever I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
And I just came over to him and I said to him, "Hey, Strit, why don't you come and see our show? I've seen you so many times, so why not? So it's time for you to see our show."
Fair. Fair is fair. Yeah.
And this is I made it myself. I made it quite easy. So but it's of course it's a good feeling when you come to a country you've never been before, and there's people on the airport waiting for you and asking for signatures, to sign the albums or whatever. That of course is a great feeling, but it's the best feeling is always to have a big party with them later in the evening. So in the club, so
Right.
during a show, that's the best thing for me.
Nice. Yeah. Because I mean, we've discussed it a few times here on the show. Because heavy metal is literally worldwide. I mean, we've gone there. There are a few places we actually haven't been to yet. I mean, I say haven't been to. I mean, people who have come on the show. We haven't. Unfortunately, we haven't had anybody on the show from Asia yet. But I mean, that's something that will happen in time. But I mean, we've been all over Europe. We've been to Canada. We've been to South America. We've been to India. We've been to Australia. So I mean, you can find heavy metal everywhere. And we've kind of discussed it before. Kind of who, just kind of a I don't know what you would call it, kind of like a hypothetical, informal kind of, who really does who really has not the market cornered, but I mean, who's really made the mark on heavy metal, because it was basically, for all intents and purposes, founded when Black Sabbath started. So, the Black Sabbath was basically, in the UK. So was heavy metal started in the UK, or did it really take off with the Big Four in the early thrash metal days in the late 70s, early 80s, the new wave of British heavy metal, all this stuff, the Teutonic, the Teutonic thrash that comes out of your country with Creator and all those kind of bands. Who we've kind of discussed it before. Who does it best, and it really all depends on what you're talking about. Because Scandinavia does an amazing job. America does an amazing job. Germany does an amazing job. So I mean, but as a whole, heavy metal is just held down by the entire world. So it's just kind of incredible that it's already gotten to the place that it's gotten. But with the I was just kind of wondering just what kind of a feel you were getting, because I mean, even bands that have been around in Germany for the longest time, and we've mentioned this, we've mentioned the Scorpions before. They're celebrating their 60th anniversary. The Scorpions have been around that long, So, and then on the industrial side of it, you've got Rammstein from Germany. There's another band that Jason and I are familiar with from Germany, Null Positive. They have a female lead singer, but so I mean, there's one of our first guests that we did on the show is a band from Germany. You may or may not be familiar with them. They're an up and coming band called Source of Rage. They were actually our first German guest. So so Germany is super duper influential in our eyes as far as heavy metal goes. So I just wanted to get your opinion on how you felt about being involved in that. So
It's great, being a part of a metal scene, of course, and it's as I said, whenever you come, when I ever first step outside Germany for the very first time, and then there's people taking care of you, then they care about you and your music. That's way more than I ever expected.
Yeah.
Way, when I was a kid, I never expected something like this, and then they're coming up and they say, "Wow!" And that was cool. And something was also pretty cool was when you went to a show, and for the first time you see a band covering one of your one of your songs.
That was pretty cool. Okay, yeah.
Nice. And whoa! I got influence on the metal scene. They're covering one of my songs.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Was...
Well, Andy, we know you have an interview, another interview coming up here in the next little bit. So before we let you go, is there, obviously the new album is coming out on Friday. It's going to be on Spotify, I'm sure. We have already gotten to listen to it, of course, thanks to the guys at the label. So we're super duper appreciative of that. Mm-hmm. Are there any other platforms or sources you want to plug before you have to take off?
Of course, there's other platforms as well, of course, where you can download or stream it or whatever, So there's another single coming out next Thursday. I do remember. The Crawling will be the fourth single of the album, and to me, it's as I said, I think I can probably release another 24 albums, and I will always be excited. It's like getting a new child, So
sure,
I
can see that.
The record company they do really hate me for that, because I'm bothering them, every day, every night, with emails. What's going on here? What's there? What's the problem here? Why don't you do more here and there? They hate me for that. They always say a release date is the worst thing you can have together with Andy Frank. Because they hate me for that. But the thing is, really, the day after the release, I'm a nice person. The day after, I'm a very nice person. Yeah, but I'm really taking care about this, because of course you want the best for your baby,
Of course, absolutely.
That's basically it, So, and I'm really proud on every single note. It's I have a wall in here where I have all my collections and all my covers and stuff. And sometimes I'm standing in front of it, and then I say to my wife, "Wow, this is unbelievable. Release so many albums and still have to work." Others release 2 or 3 albums in their entire life, and they do not have to work anymore.
That's true.
That's definitely not fair. But
as you said before, I'm doing it just because of the music. and
Yeah,
not doing it for the music.
right.
So it's
Right.
I love being on stage. I hate the studio, but I love being on stage. And
Yeah,
I have to go to the studio to have another reason to go back on stage. So
that's
and,
true. It's a love-hate relationship, that's for sure.
Mm.
And I can
One more
only
one
I can only imagine the size of that wall that you're looking at too. So
one thing I wanted to ask too is if any of the back catalog is still available for sale on any of the uh,
yeah, yeah,
platforms or
yeah.
labels.
Yeah, yeah. I think all the fans, if they are not able to catch one of the albums, in the record store or anywhere else, just get in touch with us, so
Okay.
because we have copies in our warehouse, we do.
I'll
nice.
And we
I'll
sometimes the funny thing it's since a few weeks, we had what was it? A extra live CD we released just for a tour. We had this, and this extra CD was not really for sale, So, but now
mhm.
people are asking us from all over the world, do you still have one of these copies? And I had to go down to in my own cellar to find some. And I said, yes, I have it. I pay whatever you want. And I said, no, no, no. It's all cool, So sometimes, yeah. But whenever, if people are asking for shirts, they have or asking for CDs, vinyl, or whatever, just send us an email, send us a message, and I'm pretty sure we'll find a way to bring it to you. It's no problem at all. So
Well, you have our email too, so if you come up with a bundle there, just hit us up. We'll work out something. So
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
I guess the Americans will have that, and I'll make sure to get you some copies. Definitely, of course, no
We
problem at
appreciate it.
all. You spend 2 hours in your entire life to talk to me,
Well,
so
no,
this
no,
hopefully,
you spent 2 hours of your life talking to us. We're the
yeah,
ones.
exactly, yeah,
No,
yeah.
we're the lucky ones on this end,
And
Andy.
hopefully we can do this again soon too, because I know you guys stay kind of busy. So we'll keep shooting them out, and we'll do this again, man.
whenever you want me, just let me know. No
All right,
problem, no
man.
doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. It's all so much fun, so much fun.
Yeah,
Bringing
Yeah.
back
yeah. Think
so many memories now. To be very
right.
honest, this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because and like I said, every time he says something, I'm be like, hey, Andy's seen those guys. So
Yeah, I know. He's never gonna let me live that. He's never gonna let me forget that shit now.
Okay.
Andy, man,
Next time you have me on the show, I'll bring back my. I have a huge. How do you say? Uh, 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 um, how do you say? Folder. I have a
Okay,
huge
yeah.
okay.
folder, with all the tickets and passes and stuff, and that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can go through
Yeah.
it. So
Well, hey, so let's do that because that'll be the first time we ever had because we do a show and tell on here sometimes. So that'll be the first
Sometimes,
time
yeah.
we'll have a guest do the show and tell with us. That'll be pretty
That
cool.
would be fun. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be fun.
I like that
So,
idea.
okay, we'll do that one. We'll do that one
all
because
right.
I have a huge folder with me. With all the first of all, before that, I'll bring you down to my floor. Because there's a lot of tickets in behind the glass as well.
Oh,
There's a lot of
That
nice.
them.
would be
And then
cool.
I have a huge folder, and then
Yeah.
we're going through that, and then we're talking about what have you seen here, what have you seen that, how was that show,
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah,
and how can I
that's so
dry
much.
my tears?
We might need more than 2 hours for that show. So
We might, yeah.
No problem at all. No problem.
hey, Andy, man, thanks again. Everybody, don't forget Plague of Rats comes out next Friday.
Next
So
Friday.
put that on your calendars. Get that. You'll definitely enjoy that album, I believe.
It's
So
yeah.
great
You
Give it
album.
a
will not
listen,
be
of course.
disappointed.
Yeah,
Oh,
give
it
it a
is
listen.
so good.
Yeah, Andy, tell the rest of the guys, man. Good luck with everything, and hopefully this is a big success for you guys, and maybe it'll be big enough where you can just say, "Hey, finally, I can just go play music." So
Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And we
yeah.
will do that. We will do that. Me and my folder.
You and
That
your
will
phone.
Just
that
funny.
will be it. Me and my
Well,
folder.
we got two
Hey,
ongoing jokes on the show. So
that can be a good idea with all with some other musicians as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
whatever, So
true.
whatever. He in his folder, and then he'll just show it up. All your passes, all the tickets, That's cool. Bringing
That's
back
right.
the
Yeah.
history.
Yep.
All right.
All
Thanks
right.
very much for having me. Thanks so
Have it.
much.
Yep.
Take care of
Have it.
yourself
You
and see
too,
you
Andy.
soon again. And hopefully in the US on the tour.
Yes. Hell
That would
yes.
be
Yes.
really awesome.
That would be
All right.
amazing. Andy, take care, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks a
Have a
very
lot,
much.
man.
Take care of yourself.
Hopefully talk to you soon, man.
Talk to you. Bye.
Andy Frank, lead singer of Brainstorm. Everybody, that was so much fun. Oh my god,
That
it
was
was so
awesome.
much fun.
Yeah, I always love the ones where we get something from, I mean, something a joke about going forward,
Yep.
So uh, that's always fun.
He just kept fucking naming off bands that I've been
I know,
dying to
right? I was
see
like,
for years.
I'm sitting there going, man, this is like dream concerts for Chris right now. He's just like,
Yeah. I'm like, I saw this band. I was like,
yeah.
son of a bitch.
He's like, oh yeah, Rouse my neighbor, no big deal.
Yeah, he's like, he lives 5 miles over there. I'm like, oh man, come on. Like you're killing me over here, Andy. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, great guy. Man, it's so much fun. So much fun talking to him. And like the new album coming out on the 28th, Plague of Rats. It's so well done. And like some of the bands we talked about, and Andy even brought it up, we both, oh, hell, all three of us brought it up, just kind of like some of the little nuances and influences we heard, John Bush, Bruce Dickinson, Iron Maiden, Sabotage, all that kind of stuff. If you're, if any traditional heavy metal fan, kind of like us, is going to really enjoy the album. Of course, if you've heard of any of Brainstorm's stuff previously, there's no fall off in the quality of the songwriting and the composition of the music and Andy's vocals. You won't be if you've heard Brainstorm before, you're not going to be disappointed. If you haven't heard Brainstorm before and you're a metal fan at all, I mean, there's a little something for everybody, because Alex Kroll does do some gutturals on track number 8, From Hell. Elena Cirala from Leaves Eyes, she does some guest vocals on track number 6. So Andy does his thing throughout the entire album. The twin guitar attack on the album is
those two guitarists are unreal, dude.
Reminiscent of Judas Priest and Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
So I mean, the album does have a little bit of something for everybody, but the some of the quote unquote traditional heavy metal fans and the power to a slightly lesser extent, power metal fans are going to find the album very well done. I mean, we didn't rate it, as far as any album reviews go, but I mean, I don't see.
Well, I didn't want to do anything like that until they came out, but yeah.
But I mean, if we're
it's definitely on my spreadsheet. I'll just say that. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely on mine too. So I don't think anyone would be. I don't think any metal fans are going to be disappointed by that offering. So,
oh no,
shouldn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any black metal fans would listen to it, because it's like the polar opposite. But I mean, Maiden and Priest and stuff like that. But I mean, the vast majority of heavy metal fans are going to find something on it that they can enjoy. Absolutely.
Good deal. All right.
Yep.
So now I guess we can get into plugging our show. If you haven't noticed screaming across the bottom there, you can listen to our 24/7 radio station at stream.trulyradio 247.com/8008/stream. And yes, I do realize I forgot the 247 and Truly.
You're fine. Yeah.
But
oh, you put the email address on the end of the ticker too. That's cool.
Yeah. I thought, just throw it on there too. So.
metalheadsuniteusa@gmail.com is our email address. And then follow us on all of our social media. Follow us on Facebook. Follow our Facebook page. Join our Facebook group. We have two different sources there on Facebook. Then follow us on X, our YouTube channel, on Twitch, on Instagram, on Rumble, and on TikTok. and check out all of the playlists on Spotify. No theme of the week this week, obviously, since we did have Andy on the show. We already have our theme for next week taken care of. We'll let you guys know what that is next week. But today and tomorrow was our theme of the week from last week. That playlist is on Spotify now, as well as all of our other themes of the week. And Jason does provide the weekly new release playlist on Thursdays. Plenty of Metalheads Unite metal to listen to for everybody out there.
Up and let's see.
Speaking of,
there is the playlist for this week. If you haven't seen it yet or anything, I will give you a heads up. There are some heavy hitters on there this week, dude. Like so much came out this week. I'm just like, this is where it's starting to get really interesting, and it's just being. I don't want to say. I'm not going to say oversaturated because I don't think. To me, you can't.
Yeah, I don't.
Metal,
exactly. But
it's definitely starting to saturate us with big heavy hitters coming out. Disturbed actually had a new release. Machine Head,
Yep.
So.
And then Killswitch Engage's new album released this week.
Engage's new album came out, which is a awesome fucking. Like, man, if you want to talk about a band that got back to basics, like, man, this is going back. When I was listening to this, I'm just like, dude, this is some early Killswitch sounding shit right here. So if you're an early Killswitch fan, then you definitely enjoy the new album. So.
Well, the funny thing for me is I listened to it yesterday, and it's old school Killswitch, but Jesse has he kind of added some new highs to his repertoire. I kind of noticed. So it's classic Killswitch with like a new twist a little bit because Jesse's kind of done some things with his vocals that he hadn't done a whole lot with in the past, but still kind of nice.
Yeah, and we got a new A Day to Remember release this week. So Black Label Society. I mean,
that was a funny song.
Destruction had a new. I mean that Destruction album, dude. I can't wait for that, dude. Like that's going to be a killer album.
Well, Destruction is from Germany. I'm sure Andy knows him.
Well, yeah. He's probably met him a few times. So.
He probably has.
Already starting. But,
yeah.
And then, of course, a band that I followed for a while now, Godslave, they had a new single out. I think they're probably getting ready to come out with a new. I think that's about their second or third new release. So I'm guessing they probably got a new one.
Shit, I completely missed that.
Yeah, so I got
the new Godslave. I completely missed that.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. I mean, I'm down for some new Godslave for sure.
Yeah.
But
So yeah. Alien Weaponry had a new song. So, I mean,
yeah, they did. Yep, they did.
Man, it's like as I was saying, it's full of heavy hitters. On top of everything that came out this week. So, and I do want to go back to last week because we didn't get to talk too much about last week, but I did listen to the new Lacuna Coil album, and let me tell you something, dude. Like I'm impressed with this one. I mean, I think they've kind of learned from their mistakes from the album before for sure. So
that's good.
So I was kind of like hoping we weren't going into another in this moment type issue where they're just never going to get back to things like Black Widow and the Ritual kind of thing.
Right.
So
yeah, well, that's good to know. I haven't listened to that new Lacuna Coil yet.
It's good, dude.
I listened to the one single that they put out, and I did like it. I also thought it's like, okay, this is kind of going back a little ways, which is good because I mean we've talked about it before. There's nothing wrong with a band that's been around for a while. If they want to do some different stuff and experiment, that's fine. Yeah. But sometimes you can get too far away. Sometimes you can get a little far away, but if you steer the ship back on course, that's fine because experimentation is fine.
But I think when you do that, you can step back and be like, okay, did that work, or did people like it, or people didn't like it, or
Well, hopefully you do take that step back when you try to do something a little different and do examine the results. So sometimes bands don't do that. So
yeah. All right, guys. I guess that will wrap this one up for this week. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. We'll put this together and get it up on Spotify and stuff. As soon as I can, so we're not. We can kind of get that out before the album release, so people can kind of hear what's what's coming up. So
Yep. And
uh,
once again, thanks to Andy Frank for coming on,
yeah,
and thanks for our buddy Curtis
yeah, man,
for
really cool
setting this
guy.
up. We know there were a couple of hiccups, which is fine. I mean, it's
Yeah, it happens.
it was bound to happen eventually. It's totally fine. But thankfully we were able to regroup and
Right.
get everybody back on the same page so we could do this thing because I had a feeling it was going to be a good interview. I didn't know it was going to be as fun as it was, but
Yeah.
it was such a good time to talk to him. So
Yeah.
and the funny thing is just talking to Andy for 2 hours when he's got a career as long as he does. I mean,
Yes. Probably
there's
we probably didn't even scratch the surface of what we could have done. So
no, probably not. So
I think it's him talking about doing the breaking out the frames and stuff. I kind of want to just reschedule something for next week, because I want to see it now. Like I want to
yeah,
see it.
I
Uh,
know.
but
Yeah,
cool deal. Yeah, we appreciate Andy for taking his time out and
yep,
joining us today. So,
yeah.
yeah, thanks to all of you that kind of joined us on a Saturday morning, which I know is kind of
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I
kind of
mean,
odd for us because we usually do Friday nights. So
yeah, it's I know it's a little different, but we have to make some concessions for our friends over there
yeah,
in Europe because I mean it's 10 o'clock over here in the United States is like 4 or 5 in
five
the
over
morning
there.
over
Yeah,
there, and
yeah,
I have to get up that early in the morning to go to work, so it sucks when you have to.
right.
So
We
it's
don't
not one of those things.
we don't want to make people. Well, I mean, we've had people get up that early, but we don't
I
want. We
mean, yeah. So I mean, we always give people the option. If you want to do our regular time, that's fine, but you don't have to. So so we like to at least give the option. So
yeah. All right, gang. We appreciate you stopping in with us, and hopefully we will see you back here next Friday night. So far, it's going to be a regular show, but we'll
yep,
see if anything pops up. You have to follow us on our socials to find that out. So
that's right.
be sure you give us a follow or like on all these things, so you can kind of keep up with upcoming interviews and what we got coming up next. And if it's that way, if it's something you're not interested in, you don't have to worry about. Joining on. So.
Well, I mean, that's true. Yeah, that is
Kind of
true.
gives you a heads up, but most of the time I think we just get people strolling through and saying, "Oh, you know, metalheads." So
I mean, yeah,
those are my people.
yep,
So
yeah.
anyway, gang, hopefully we'll see you back here next Friday night, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. Until then, keep those horns held high. Jump in that pit anytime you can.
Have a great week, you guys.